The rifle case caught everyone's attention the moment Sergeant Riley Martinez carried it onto the long-range competition range at Quantico. Custom pink Cerakote finish with hand-painted white roses climbing up the stock. It looked like something that belonged at a country fair shooting gallery, not at the Marine Corps' advanced marksmanship competition. The case alone violated every unspoken rule about tactical equipment, looking serious and professional. When Riley opened it to reveal a heavily modified rifle that matched the case, the snickering started immediately. A lance corporal made a comment about bringing toys to a professional event. A staff sergeant asked loudly if she had gotten lost on her way to a bachelorette party. Riley smiled pleasantly, said nothing, and began her meticulous pre-shot routine with the calm of someone who had heard it all before. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching this story from? Your country, your city. I want to know how far this message of courage travels across our world. The competition drew the best marksmen from across the corps. Men and women who had spent years perfecting their craft, who could call wind speed by feel and calculate bullet drop in their heads. The qualification round was set at 1,000 meters, a distance that separated casual shooters from true professionals. Riley stepped to the line during her rotation, and the mockery intensified. Someone suggested they should have a separate category for decorative weapons. Another voice proposed they paint all the targets pink so she could see them better. The range officer called for silence with the authority of someone who had run these competitions for 20 years, but even he looked skeptical as Riley settled into position. Her first shot rang out, and the target indicator showed a perfect center mass hit. The second shot matched it. By the fifth shot, the laughter had died down as people started paying attention to the target board instead of the rifle. Riley completed the qualification round with a perfect score, then stood and stepped back from the line without comment or celebration. The lance corporal who had made the toy comment looked less confident now. The staff sergeant had gone quiet. But the real competition had not started yet, and everyone knew that qualifying was just the entry fee to the actual event. The advanced competition consisted of 3 stages, each at increasing distance with decreasing target size and increasing environmental challenges. 1,200 meters, 1,800 meters, and for the final stage 2,400 meters in variable wind conditions that made long-range shooting as much art as science. Riley moved through the first 2 stages with mechanical precision, posting scores that put her in 3rd place overall, respectable but not remarkable. The top 2 shooters were both men with legendary reputations in the sniper community. Gunnery sergeants who had combat deployments and confirmed kills at distances that sounded impossible to civilians. They looked at Riley's pink rifle with less mockery now and more calculation, reassessing whether she was a serious threat. During the lunch break, one of the younger Marines approached Riley and asked about the rifle. His tone was genuinely curious rather than mocking, and Riley appreciated the honesty. She told him the story. The rifle had belonged to her daughter Emma, who had been diagnosed with terminal cancer at age 12. Emma had loved shooting with her mother, had loved the precision and patience it required, and had asked if she could design a rifle that looked beautiful instead of scary. They had spent weeks choosing the design together, Emma sketching roses while sitting in hospital beds between chemotherapy treatments. The rifle had been completed 3 weeks before Emma died, and Riley had never fired it until after the funeral because she could not bear to touch something so filled with memory and loss. The young Marine asked why she would bring it to a competition where people would mock it. Riley's answer was simple. Because Emma had designed it to be used, not displayed. Because hiding it away meant letting fear and grief win. Because every time she looked through that scope, she remembered her daughter's excitement about creating something beautiful in a world that often felt ugly. The rifle was not a decoration or a statement. It was a promise kept to a 12-year-old girl who had believed that strength and beauty were not opposites but partners. And if you're still watching, if this story is touching something in your heart, hit that like button. Let me know you're here with me. The final stage of the competition began after lunch, and the range officer announced a special challenge. For those who wanted to attempt it, there would be an exhibition shot at 6,000 meters, more than 3.5 miles, against a target barely visible even through spotting scopes. The distance was considered the absolute edge of possible rifle range, requiring perfect conditions, perfect equipment, and extraordinary skill. Most competitors declined. The 2 gunnery sergeants at the top of the leaderboard both attempted and both missed, their shots falling short or drifting wide in wind patterns that were nearly impossible to read at such distance. Riley volunteered last. She spent 15 minutes studying the wind, watching flags at intervals down the range, observing how heat shimmer affected visibility at different distances. She made calculations in a notebook covered with Emma's drawings, numbers, and memories, mixing on the same pages. Other shooters gathered to watch, the mockery completely gone now, replaced by professional curiosity and something approaching respect. The range officer asked if she was ready. Riley nodded, settled into position behind the pink rose rifle, and began her breathing routine. The range fell silent except for wind and the distant flutter of flags. The shot was a prayer and a calculation, grief and precision, memory and muscle. The rifle's report echoed across the range, and then everyone waited. At 6,000 meters, the bullet needed nearly 9 seconds to reach the target, an eternity of hope suspended in physics and faith. The spotting scopes tracked the target. Time stretched. Then the indicator activated, showing an impact just off-center, close enough to the bullseye that several observers gasped. At that distance, hitting the target at all was considered nearly impossible. Coming within inches of center was something that most shooters never achieved in their entire careers. The range erupted not in applause, but in respectful silence, the kind that warriors give when they witness something that transcends competition and touches greatness. Riley stood, hands shaking slightly, and whispered something only she could hear. "Thank you, Emma." The two gunnery sergeants approached her together, and instead of offering congratulations, they asked if they could examine her rifle. Not to mock it now, but to learn from it. Riley handed it to them carefully, and they handled it with the reverence, due to both a precision instrument and a sacred object. The lance corporal who had made the toy comment appeared at her side, face flushed with shame. He started to apologize, but Riley stopped him. She told him that she understood the mockery, that in their world, weapons were supposed to look dangerous and serious, that pink roses violated expectations. But she also told him something Emma had said during one of her last good days. Her daughter had said that the world judged books by covers and people by appearances, and that the strongest message you could send was being exactly who you were regardless of whether others understood. The rifle was pink not despite being powerful, but as proof that power came in forms that challenged assumptions. The competition ended with Riley in second place overall, losing only to one of the gunnery sergeants by a narrow margin. But everyone present knew that the 6,000-meter shot was what would be remembered, talked about in ready rooms and training sessions for years to come. Not just because of the distance or the difficulty, but because of what it represented. A mother honoring her daughter. A warrior carrying beauty into battle. A woman refusing to choose between strength and femininity, between deadly skill and gentle memory. The pink rose rifle became legendary not for its appearance but for what it proved about assumptions and truth. Years later, Riley would retire from the Marines and become a shooting instructor, teaching young marksmen the technical skills they needed and the deeper lessons about why they mattered. She would tell them Emma's story, show them the pink rifle, and explain that the most dangerous opponents are often the ones you underestimate. That confidence comes not from conforming to expectations but from knowing your own worth. That beauty and lethality are not contradictions but different expressions of the same fierce dedication. And that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is refusing to apologize for being exactly who you are, carrying exactly what matters, and hitting exactly what you aim for regardless of who doubts you. If this story moved you, if you believe that we should never judge capability by appearance, that strength comes in forms that defy expectation, and that the most powerful weapons are often the ones that carry love alongside skill, then subscribe to this channel. Join this community of people who understand that breaking stereotypes is not about proving others wrong, but about living your truth so completely that mockery transforms into respect. Share this story with anyone who has ever been underestimated because they refuse to fit the mold. Anyone who carries beauty into battle, anyone who honors memory through action. Let them know that pink roses can be just as deadly as camouflage, and that the heart behind the trigger matters more than the color of the stock. I'll see you in the next one.